Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you had a great Christmas period and Happy New Year to you. This is going to be a slightly different type of video from what I've made previously, but it's one that I think is very important. I would like to start a continuous series of videos on this channel centered around classical fiction. Now, from time to time, I may bring in the odd non-fiction book, maybe particular interesting self-help book that I think is quite good. But I actually want to do something a bit different from what a lot of other channels are doing. What I'd like to do is focus on these classical works, great works of fiction from throughout history, because to me, a lot of these almost surpass self-help, even though they're fiction, even though they're not, you could say they're not real or not true, but the stories behind them are very true. And a lot of the characters in them are very true to life. And I think there's a lot to learn from them. So this is going to be the first video in that series. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the recent books I read, Fiesta by Ernest Hemingway. So this is published under the name Fiesta, also under the name of The Sun Also Rises. And this is the third Hemingway book that I've read. I read For Whom the Bell Tolls, Old Man the Sea, and then this. And I think there's a lot of really important life lessons in this book. So I want to take a moment and go through them with you. This book frustrated the heck out of me when I first read it. But that's exactly the point. You see, Fiesta, or The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, it's not actually about bullfighting or day drinking in Spain. To me, when I read it, it was about what happens to men, people in general, but specifically men, when they lose their sense of purpose. You see, Hemingway's characters show the stages a man goes through in life. But just like in real life, some of us actually get stuck in a particular stage, others get to move on. So if you feel stuck in life, then this book is for you. Keep watching. Okay, so what's the story? What's the book actually about? Well, without giving you every detail, it's about a group of post-World War I expats drifting between Paris and Spain. You know, they drink, they travel, they chase pleasure. It all seems like good fun, but very few of them are actually enjoying it. In fact, by the time they reach the bullfights in Pamplona, Spain, tensions boil over and we get to see who they truly are. Now, the plot to me is the least interesting thing about the book. To me, it's the characters. They are what's really interesting because each one reacts differently to the same world, to the same set of circumstances. And it's interesting how neatly many of these characters fit into these developmental stages that all men go through in life. So when I say developmental stages, I mean just this thing that I've noticed where, and it's the same for everyone, okay? This might not even be specific to men, but the book I think speaks to men more than women. When we're born, we start out quite naive, okay? And then eventually, with enough humiliation and difficult experiences, we become cynical. This is the natural order of things. But a lot of us get stuck there. And you can actually move past that. There are steps beyond cynicism. And that's what this book deals with. Or at least that's what it spoke to me about. Okay, so first I'll introduce you to the sole female character of the book. I'll do that before I go through those different stages of male development. The only female character in the book that we spend any time with is Lady Brett Ashley. And you can think of her as representing chaos, or maybe being a catalyst for what happens to many of the other characters. And that's because she moves through almost every man in the circle, either having affairs with them or professing her love for each of them. Now, despite her promiscuity, she's actually quite honest about her nature, her desire, her restlessness, and the chaos that surrounds her. Now, like I said before, where do we all start when we're born? We start in this stage of naivety, and that is personified in this book by the character of Robert Cohn. He's a writer, he's a former boxer. He's quite naive and idealistic. He believes that love and pure intention is enough. He's in love with Lady Brett Ashley, and he thinks that if she just realizes that he loves her, she'll leave her fiancé and run off with him. And then in the course of the book, reality humiliates him. But that's actually the point. Think about it. You're probably like me. We've all had experiences just like this in life, when we were naive and we ended up humiliated. And these humiliations and the pain we experience, that's what prompts us to go on to the next stage, which is cynicism. Now, surprisingly, in Fiesta, the main character of the book is not the naive, romantic Robert Cohn, but the cynical one. Jake Barnes is his name. He's a war-wounded journalist, impotent because of his injury, and he's in love with Lady Brett Ashley as well, but he's never able to be with her physically because of that injury. Now, we witness his cynicism when he mocks Robert's naive fantasies privately, but to me, Jake was no less pitiful than Robert. In fact, I actually felt worse for Jake than for Robert when I first read the book, because I thought to myself, well, you know, Robert might be naive, but at least he's actually trying to accomplish something, even if his aim is misguided. Whereas Jake, he knows what he wants, but he never actually tries at anything. He never tries to do anything meaningful that might actually make himself better. He never attempts that relationship with Lady Ashbury. Now, you could say that's fair enough because it probably wouldn't work out anyway, but in my opinion, it's better to try and fail than sit about whinging all the time about your lot in life. It's insufferable. We all know people like this. Now, this is exactly where a lot of men get stuck. They go from naive to cynical, and they think that's it. They've completed life. They've arrived at the final stage. But this is where the path splits in two. You see, you can climb out of this cynicism into wisdom, or you can stew in it and over time devolve into nihilism. And like always, our final two characters represent these traits perfectly. We have Mike Campbell, who represents nihilism. Mike, he is presented as Lady Ashbury's fiance. He's the nihilist. He's chaotic, self-destructive. He's an alcoholic and he's a mean drunk. You know, we have Jake Barnes. He mocks Robert's naivety inwardly to himself, whereas Mike humiliates Robert in front of the whole group, and it's quite mean-spirited. Now, we can easily see Mike is the next step for Jake if he doesn't overcome his cynicism. In fact, what's so interesting is Mike actually has the thing that Jake wants. He has Lady Ashley, and yet he's a worse person for it. Now, that might suggest that what Jake is missing isn't as simple as just a romance with Lady Ashley, but true meaning and purpose. Now, that's something that Pedro Romero, the famous bullfighter that the group encounters, has in spades, and he's the character that represents the real final stage of maturation in a man, wisdom. Pedro's like a breath of fresh air when we first meet him. Finally, we have this positive role model in the book. The rest of the book may as well be called Men Behaving Badly, but Pedro, he's such a contrast because he actually has something that the other characters lack. He has meaning, he has a purpose in life. And it's not one that's been bestowed upon him. You know, that's something it seems the others are waiting for. They're all waiting around hoping this purpose comes to them. It spontaneously falls out of the sky. But Pedro, he has created his purpose with years of hard work and dedication. He's a brilliant young bullfighter. He's brave, he's disciplined, he's devoted to his craft. His purpose is unshaken, even by Brett Ashley. In fact, she leaves him after their brief romance because she feels like he's actually going somewhere, and she's too chaotic. She'll drag him down. And what we learn collectively from these characters is that wisdom and purpose can protect a man from the destructive influence of others, whereas chaos attracts the man who lacks discipline. So who do I think should read Fiesta? Well, I actually enjoyed it, despite saying how frustrated I was by it. I really enjoyed it. I think it took about a week after I read the book before I really started piecing together what the book was about. While I was reading it, I was actually quite frustrated. I was waiting for some big confrontation or some big event to happen, and I was wondering, what is this book about? I even wrote in the margins in a couple of places. I wrote something like, where is it? Yeah, all these characters do is drink and gossip, really. But like I say, it was about a week later that I sort of realized what the book was about. It's about finding meaning, purpose, and what can happen and how people behave when they don't have it. If you feel stuck in life, if you feel maybe that you lack purpose, then I would say this is a really good book that might give you a kick up the backside to get a move on and figure out what you want to do. Would highly recommend it, but let me know in the comments below what you thought about this book. I thought it was great. Like I said, it's the third Hemingway book I've read. Next, I will be reading, what have I got over there? I've got Farewell to Arms and I've got Islands in the Stream. I think I'll do Farewell to Arms next. That seems to be one of the more notable books by Hemingway. Let me know if you like this type of video. I would like to make more sort of going through books and what life lessons I took from them. I think it's very valuable, and hopefully it encourages other people to pick up the habit of reading a bit more in the modern age. So folks, as always, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below, is reading more books one of your New Year's resolutions for 2026? It's definitely on my list. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. See you in the next